Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about. Real, honest, entertaining, live. DBL starts right now.
3, 2.
Welcome all to DBL. It's Tuesday, March 2nd. I'm Tori, feeling casual and sexy here with Al and Lindsay.
We all feel that.
I don't feel so sexy. I feel kind of neutral, but I
feel like
Some would say you're dressed for work, Lindsay.
I thought this was very cool. I thought I looked fresh. All right, good. Let's get to work because you guys are already writing me in about this. Dr. Seuss. Yes, let's discuss. Is Dr. Seuss being canceled? All right, let me tell you the backstory here. 6 of his books will no longer be published, including the titles If I Ran the Zoo, On Beyond Zebra, and Scrambled Eggs Super. Now, I need you to hear the sentence. That's according to Dr. Seuss's Enterprises, which pulled the books themselves because of, quote, racist and insensitive imagery. Now, here are some of the examples of the drawings that are being criticized. As you can see, some stereotypes there. In a statement, the company said, quote, these books portray people in ways that are hurtful and wrong. Dr. Seuss, whose real name is Theodore Seuss Geisel, died in 1991. The author continues to be super popular for kids, earning an estimated $33 million last year alone.
That's not that much.
Al, Al, do you have
It's
33
not-
million?
No, but that kid that opens gifts on YouTube made like 19.
All
so
right,
who
can I
cares?
finish the read? Thanks. So the question is it okay to pull books like this that may contain racist and hurtful images, or is this part of a trend to censor and cancel people unfairly? Again, I really want to emphasize this. The Dr. Seuss's publisher themselves are the ones taking these books back. These are not banned in certain ways. These are themselves saying we want to take away some of these books because we find that we've evolved. What do you guys think, Al?
I think this book was already canceled because these are definitely the B-sides. All right. This is whatever song was on the other side
you
of
heard
Ice
this
Ice
one yet?
Baby. Yeah, this is not, no one cared. This was already canceled. No one cares. And I wonder, and I want to pose this to you guys, do you think that this is a way to like drum up? I don't like that all of a sudden no one's talking about things and then all of a sudden Mr. Potato Head's trans. And you're like, what? Are we talking about this
Okay,
now?
to be honest, he's not trans. He's gender neutral.
Any of this. It's like the war on Christmas or the war on masculinity. It's not a thing.
Creative.
No one's ever said it in real life.
However, if you're an Asian American or an Asian and you see that and it's got slanty eyes and it's a little
Now that was racist,
right?
I'm saying, but no one's reading those books anyway.
Now, I thought that we were going down a little bit of a rabbit hole canceling kids' books, but then I really looked into this and I was like, you know, in addition to your parents and schooling teaching you, it lies on a lot of what your kids' extracurricular activities do. I know that I learned a lot in dancing class. I know that I learned a lot in what I read. And so these books are like a prominent staple in kids' lives that they're reading through. We can't have them reading stereotypes, especially if they're not exposed to a diverse crowd. And then this is what they think of Asian people, or this is what they think of black people. And so that's why I think, you know, as much as I don't want to keep going down a rabbit hole of canceling, you know, you can't have this in kids' spaces, especially when they're so impressionable.
Yeah, and
Unless
again,
they put it on an iPad. When's the last time you saw a kid hold a book? I've seen a kid with a knife and sword before I've seen him with a book.
no one has a
No one
knife
has touched those
and
old
a
books
sword.
before. No one, Mike, no one is going to read those. They're
Okay,
already
but
canceled.
I just want to make it clear again. I'm so against banned books. In my school, we literally had we read a whole year on banned books only. But this isn't banned books in the case of this is the publisher themselves saying we're uncomfortable, and I think that's different. I'm going to read some comments because they're coming in. Marcus from Twitter says, of all things that could get canceled, I thought Dr. Seuss was untouchable, but alas. He doesn't have to say canceled.
And he doesn't have to use the word alas.
I like
either.
the word alas. All right. Mom Athena says he was a product of his culture, not a hateful heart. Once he knew differently, he changed. No book should be banned, just thoughtfully chosen. And Zola says this is the decision of the owners of the legacy. People should be able to make decisions regarding their own property. I see a huge difference.
But if we pull every single thing in history, we'll find something wrong with every single thing, I want to bet. Up until maybe like 10 years ago, when we really started to get into people being woke and understanding things, like there are layers in a lot of these cartoons that we watched, inappropriate, whether they're racially or just jokes are inappropriate. Like there are a lot of things that would not fly today. I even watched the new Shaft that came out, and I noticed that it was way different than the old Shaft. Now, the old Shaft is like a movie where there were totally inappropriate, like homophobic remarks, and in this one, whenever they made a remark that was like that, I noticed that they corrected themselves in the movie, which to me, the movie wasn't even funny anymore, but it was like, why even do the remake of Shaft if it was that type of movie?
If you have to do that, yeah,
exactly.
I hear you.
So I think we're going to go into this place where we keep pulling stuff, and maybe we just need to make better versions or just cancel that idea and make something new.
Well, the good news is that on Amazon and eBay, the prices for these books that no one's heard of are now skyrocketing. Everybody wants.
What is that good news for?
Our Super Eggs something. I forgot the name too. It's very strange.
No one's ever read those books.
I've never heard of those books.
I know, those are
yeah,
weird
me neither.
ones.
But I'm, you know, again, if it's up to the owner to do so, it's different than banning a book, in my view. But keep writing us
I just want to say my comedy album's been banned. And they
Has
just
it?
said, yeah, it's
Really?
just so controversial. So
Oh, you just want sales.
Guys, do not go buy it. Do
Tell
not
us
get
the
it from
title,
Amazon
Al.
Prime. I mean, just the language.
Oh, the language is awful. All right, let's move on to this. A lot of you are talking about it. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, he's in some hot water. He is facing a third allegation of unwanted sexual advances. This time, the woman said that Cuomo put his hand on her lower back, was, quote, aggressive, and asked if he could kiss her. She says it happened at a wedding reception in 2019, and it left her feeling confused and shocked and embarrassed. Two former aides of the governor have also accused him of sexual harassment. In a statement on Sunday, the governor said, "To be clear, I never inappropriately touched anybody, and I never propositioned anybody, and I never intended to make anyone feel uncomfortable. But these are allegations that New Yorkers deserve answers to." Meantime, the governor's brother anchor, we all know Chris Cuomo, addressed the story very briefly on CNN last night. Let's listen in on what he said.
Obviously, I'm aware of what's going on with my brother. And obviously, I cannot cover it because He is my brother. Now, of course, CNN has to cover it. They have covered it extensively, and they will continue to do so.
Interesting. Well, the New York Attorney General announced yesterday she could move forward with an independent investigation, and more people are now calling for his resignation. I do want to say something very quickly is he wanted to appoint a judge to look over it that was like his buddy. That's not going to fly anymore. We don't let buddies look over severe sexual harassment claims. If this is true and they're substantiated with an independent investigation, Cuomo has to go.
How do you not finish that with Gomo? That was you. It was right there. That is your.
Because I'm trying to be a professional.
We're trying to have people watch the show. No, right.
Do you agree?
I think he's got to go.
You guys, we talked about this a lot. Like a lot of times when these allegations came out with Biden, you saw a slew of people jump into his defense, right?
Right.
And so with Cuomo, we're not seeing that. I'm not saying that any accuser shouldn't be believed, right? You should listen to women. You should listen to men. Any accuser has something to say. But where are the people that are defending Cuomo? I'm not hearing like slews and slews of people coming out saying, wait, this is not true. He's a good guy for these 10 reasons. And so that to me is problematic and scary, especially somebody who's touched so many lives over the last couple decades. You would think that there would be people.
You think there'd be someone defending him in some ways?
If there was an allegation that Lindsay is a tyrant at work, there would be no smoke. Besides the fact that I tweeted that. There would be no smoke. There would be Tory. There would be me taking up for you. People would say, where'd this come from? We need to put your name to this. We're not seeing that. So there's a reason for that.
Yeah, I agree.
On.
If you're really patriotic, it shouldn't matter their D or the R or the independent label. If they have accusers and it's substantiated, that's a zero tolerance for me. I don't care what you are. Now, I will say, if this is the way it's going to be, which I think it should, this needs to apply to everyone. So people like Madison Cawthorn, who we now know, a Republican, has been accused several times of predatory behavior in colleges and after. That needs to be looked into with an independent investigation. It needs to be just not one-sided on either side. Does that make sense?
It'd be nice if there was just like some kind of independent body that could look over these things, like newspapers and magazines.
Maybe we need it.
Hire people to look at their magazine objectively and say, what's going on? Do we have too many left-leaning articles? Are these articles too long? Or people like you need somebody to be able to evaluate objectively, and I feel like we don't have that. We just kind of have this I think we're okay.
Right, because you're asking people in government to check and balance themselves, which usually they don't do. And so a lot of times it is those newspapers and TV outlets that break stories like this, and because they listen to someone's story, now we have to investigate it. And so it's kind of like, which comes first, the chicken
and
or
it
the
keeps
egg.
happening, right? We keep having these allegations. Politicians do better, am I right? Well, coming up on DBL, our medical expert, we've missed her. You've written to me. Where is she? She's back. Dr. Pyle Coley is back to tackle the latest headlines surrounding the COVID vaccines. And a plastic surgeon makes a virtual court appearance from the OR. Yeah, the operating room. We'll tell you what's going on here. The judge is as confused as I am. Coming up next.
Smiling through the pain. It's something Lexi Bader does on a daily basis. We first introduced you to Lexi last year, a successful young model with a debilitating disease.
We're happy to have you back. I know that there's a lot going on, so you have definitely been an inspiration for our audience, and we just want to reconnect with you.
Yeah, I can't wait. Sorry. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here too.
All right, girlfriend. Okay, we're almost ready. I'm gonna count us down, and don't be nervous. You got this. You've already come in. We've already done this. All right, you ready, girl?
I am.
DBL is all new every day.
Don't look at me like with that face, because I'm telling you how I feel.
I'm not buying his story.
I'm already fired up.
Yeah.
Good. Still people out there watching who are appalled.
You acted like I just said something crazy.
I'm so far in my head, I don't even know what's going on.
Leave Jeff alone. No, I'm just being honest. He's trying to get clout.
I'm gonna wear a 10-gallon hat.
Lucy would have been all over you, honey.
Hey.
Stick with us in 2021. We're going to have a great year. Welcome back to DBL. A big shout out to our coworkers tuning in from home during the pandemic. We miss you and we thank you for the great job that you're doing. This story is cray-cray, okay? A plastic surgeon in California is under fire. It's all because he appeared in traffic court virtually while he was operating. The judge of the case didn't seem too amused. Let's all take a look.
I'm seeing a defendant that's in the middle of an operating room appearing to be actively engaged in providing services to a patient. Is that correct, Mr. Green?
Yes, sir.
I do not feel comfortable for the welfare of a patient if you're in the process of operating that I would put on a trial.
So I have another surgeon right here who's doing the surgery with me, so I can stand here and allow them to do the surgery also.
Not at all. I don't think so. I don't think that's appropriate.
All right, the judge then went on to reschedule the trial, and the medical board in California is now reportedly investigating. Not cool.
So because it's not me, like, it's really funny to watch. But like, if that was me, I would be so offended. Like, if I was put to sleep and then I watch my doctor doing this, like, that's ridiculous. I mean, obviously very problematic for every single medical board that's going to review this.
True, and it brings up that Joan Rivers, where we all kind of joke about it. But remember what happened? Joan Rivers was getting something fixed in her throat. The guy allegedly was taking photographs of himself while she was out. She dies. She doesn't make it out of that surgery. So it's like funny, and then you're like, is it funny?
Not really, right?
Yeah.
It was a routine surgery is what happened to Joan. So, I mean, that does happen. And it brings up another question. It's like a lot of times, are you too busy to go to court? It seems like jury duty and things like court fall during, could you go to court right now, Lindsay? Could you tour? It's very weird when we schedule times to vote, times to be a juror. Like, it just seems completely backwards to me. It doesn't seem like it's aimed at really helping working people in the hours people work.
I think that times changed because of coronavirus. I know that even in our company, we talked about it, like, you used to die on the sword and be sick and come into the office. Like, that's not a thing anymore. Stay home. And so I hope that everybody with this new kind of autonomy, if you were lucky enough to have it, is really thinking about the things that they have to get done within like a weekday schedule or whatever your work schedule is, and just figuring out how to schedule them in and how to communicate and not feel like you're letting somebody down by doing other things in life. Everybody knows there are other things in life, whether it's kids or whether it's appointments. Like, there are things that come up. And so, you know, this doctor is being really irresponsible, and we're not even in a place where you have to be at work every single day. Like, you get more credit for doing that.
I mean, just the judgment call, too. It's like, I don't trust that doctor to make any moves on my face with that judgment.
Okay.
All right, well, this is very interesting. A Nike exec is out of a job after a report about her son's sneaker side business. So Ann Herbert, that's she right here, resigned from the company yesterday after Bloomberg Business Week, like Lindsay said, it's always the newspapers reporting it, reported her son used her credit card to purchase $132,000 in limited edition sneakers, which he then resold for profit. This is 19-year-old Joe Herbert. He ran a company called West Coast Streetwear, which collected popular sneakers and then resold them, raking in more than 20 grand in profit. When asked, he said his mom did not provide him with any inside info, and she did reportedly disclose to Nike about her son's business. But now, she out of a job. So, did she need to resign? Was this a conflict of interest?
I want to say I have a lot of feelings about this.
Okay, go ahead.
Colin liked a lot of those sneakers and would like shop around for them on StockX, and they would be like $1,000 the day that they came out. And he's like, this little gremlin is the reason why I couldn't get any of these sneakers. And because he had his mom's access, he was buying up all the sneakers. And so then you wonder why you can't just go into a sneaker store like when we were little and buy some sneakers that you really like because you saved up for them. That's like not even a thing anymore.
Sneakers is different. I lived on Fairfax and Melrose in LA, and it became Sneakerville. Like Kanye had his, Supreme had theirs, and people lined up around the block overnight to get the one or two to then resell. But it seems so unfair that he had an inside scoop on this.
He had like thousands.
What is this unfair? I don't understand. I don't understand capitalism and how we view it. We celebrate this style of how we run our economy. Capitalism is the best. Free market, no restrictions. But when that guy goes out and buys a bunch of masks and hoards them at the beginning of the pandemic, he's slapped on the wrist. He has to give those up. But Kelly Loeffler allegedly had inside information about the coming pandemic, sold a bunch of stock. Maybe she got the tip from her husband, who's the president of the New York Stock Exchange. Maybe, but that's fine. So how come this kid can't profit? I just need to know the rules. Who can profit and who can't? Because it seems like anytime a regular person like GameStop, when the regular folks start making some money, not that this is a rich kid, but when regular folks start making some money, they turn the game off. They literally shut down, what do you almost call it, Trader Joe's?
Robin Hood?
Robin Hood, yes.
Because they're trading? Oh, boy.
But like, it's so weird. I don't get it.
Let us know what you guys think. We'll be right back.
Nearly one.
There she is, Gabby Tuft. Welcome to DBL. So your personal story is definitely one of inner strength despite your previous physique and career as a male professional wrestler who your fans once knew as Tyler Rex.
In the new report, the CDC tested 3 mask methods to see which blocked the most particles. Now, the tests show a normal-fitting disposable medical mask blocks about 42% of particles. A normal cloth mask is slightly more snug and blocks about 44%. Things get better if you, quote, knot and tuck the mask. That looks like this. You make knots in the ear loops and then tuck the excess fabric in for a tighter fitting mask. This method blocks about 63 to 65% of particles. Finally, they tried a double mask, a cloth mask on top of a disposable medical mask. This was most effective by far, blocking about 92.5% of cough particles. That's more than double the effectiveness of either mask alone. After this test, the CDC put out new guidance for wearing a mask. They say the more snug, the better, and recommend multiple options, including double masks or using the knot and tuck method. Bottom line, yes, CDC data shows that 2 masks, cloth and disposable, are better than 1 at preventing the spread of COVID. That's verified. They also add what not to do. They say don't double up disposable masks or double up with a KN95 mask. With your Verify, I'm Jason Puckett.
Welcome back to DBL. Big news about the COVID-19 vaccines. There are now 3 of them. Our medical expert, Dr. Payal Kohli, joins us. It's so good to see you, Doc, looking fabulous as always. Now, we know you've already gotten your vaccine, but we really want to know, if you had to choose one now, which of the 3 would you choose?
That is $1 million question, Tori. But before I give you my answer, I want to hear your answers. So which ones would you guys choose right now based on what you know?
Pfizer for me, only because it's been studied more, even though it's 2 shots as opposed to the Johnson & Johnson.
I say Pfizer because my dad got Pfizer and he was fine. My mom had symptoms after she got the Moderna one, but I don't know.
Oh, I hold stock in Moderna, so Moderna. Best one ever.
So none of you guys picked Johnson & Johnson? I'm a little bit disappointed to hear that.
I know.
Trust it. Not yet.
Well, So let me just tell you something about Johnson & Johnson. In fact, the technology that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine uses has been around substantially longer than either Pfizer or Moderna, which is actually a much newer technology. In fact, the data from Johnson & Johnson has over 193,000 patients historically that have received this type of technology vaccine and other vaccines such as Ebola. So my answer is, you guys, I would choose any of them, whichever one was first made available to me. That's what I'm telling my family members to do, because if you look at the numbers, I call it number soup because there's so many numbers about efficacy floating around, but really two numbers that matter. How good is it at preventing serious illness? And this Johnson & Johnson vaccine is 85% compared to Moderna and Pfizer, which are about 94%. And then second, how good is it at keeping me out of the hospital, keeping me out of the ICU, and keeping me alive? Because if I get the virus, it's more likely to be something that I, recover from at home, and it's 100% effective at doing that, just like the others.
Well, she was a trick question.
Yeah, so like I said, Johnson & Johnson.
Johnson & Johnson.
Always had my vote. And Doc, the Johnson & Johnson, if I'm correct, is just one shot, right?
It's one shot, Al. That's one of the big advantages. It's much more stable, and so you don't have as many preservatives. You're not having as many allergic reactions either. So from a public health perspective, it's tremendous because we can get people vaccinated in 2 weeks rather than waiting 4 to 6 weeks like with Pfizer and Moderna.
Johnson & Johnson. We said it from the beginning.
So, Dr. Coley, now that we have 3 vaccines to choose from, are there realistic advantages for certain people to get certain vaccines? I know you're telling your family to get any one available, but is there a reason why somebody would get a certain one?
Good call.
Yeah, so I would say, Lindsay, only if you've had an allergic reaction to a component of one of the other vaccines would you go for one or the other. They did look at subgroup analysis, so they broke down the pie into smaller subgroups. And with Johnson & Johnson, those over the age of 65 with medical problems or those with HIV, they still need more data on. But really, you can get any of them. And I want to be careful not to compare the numbers head to head, because we're actually talking about 2 different time periods. Last year, when we studied Moderna and Pfizer, we didn't have the variants. And it's possible that if we studied them now, like we did Johnson & Johnson, their performance might change because we now have the variants. So, we have to be careful about saying one is better than the other. They're all really good vaccines, and we just have to get that vaccine as soon as it's available to us.
I just remember meeting Dr. Coley, and from then till now, where we have 3 is a big step. So let's all be grateful for that.
That's right.
And be grateful for Dr. Coley just as a person, because she's wonderful. Thank you so much, Doctor. We'll be right back.
My girl.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
Medical misinformation is everywhere online, and that's why the Verify team turns to the vetted experts to fact-check claims like these, which say that people who wear glasses are up to 3 times less likely to catch COVID. So let's verify. Are people who wear glasses less likely to develop COVID-19? Our sources are 2 professors, Dr. Sonal Tooley at the University of Florida and Dr. Catherine Colby at NYU Langone Health. We also looked at this study, a research article out of India. Here's what our experts had to say about this claim.
So at this point, we cannot tell you for certain.
We don't have any evidence.
This claim started to get attention when news outlets caught wind of a study out of India, which looked at 304 patients with mild COVID-19, concluding that those who wore glasses for more than 8 hours a day or sunglasses outside were 2 to 3 times less likely to catch COVID-19. Dr. Colby pointed out that this study is only a preprint, which means it hasn't been peer-reviewed.
I don't put any stock in publications that haven't gone through the peer-reviewed process.
In fact, the website that published the report says that preprints, quote, should not be relied on to guide clinical practice or health-related behavior, and should not be reported in news media as established information. Even the author noted the limitations, writing that the sample size was small, the study period was short, and that, quote, more studies should be done to know the effect of using spectacles on the epidemiology of COVID-19.
It's a good pilot study, something that we want to look at and then build from.
So we can verify that our experts say at this point, there's no definitive evidence that glasses wearers have a smaller risk of developing COVID-19. With your Verify, I'm Evan Kozloff, 5 on your side.
DBL is all new every day.
Don't look at me like with that face because I'm telling you how I feel.
I'm not buying his story.
No, I'm just being honest. He's trying to get clout.
I'm going to wear a 10-gallon hat.
Stick with us in 2021. We're going to have a great year.
The winter storm that hit Texas could raise grocery prices. Let's connect the dots. During the winter months, Texas is one of the few places inside the U.S. that is a source for fresh fruits and vegetables. But the deep freeze has devastated many of those crops, everything from kale to citrus trees. Some crops did better than others. Officials in Texas say onions and cabbage seem to suffer the least damage, but farmers still reporting a 20% loss of those crops as well. There are other states stores can go to for fresh fruits and vegetables like Arizona and Florida, so you will be able to find produce in stores, but it'll probably cost more, especially in the near future. That's because stores have to sort out the logistics of getting products from new suppliers, and that will take time and money. The storm could also have long-term effects. Many farmers had already planted valuable spring crops. Now those same farmers are scrambling to replant, but that will be costly. And that is connecting the dots.
Welcome back to DBL. Your comments came in like fire. That came out weird.
Yeah.
Marilyn said, this is all crazy about Dr. Seuss. They are taking things too far. It needs to stop. Cindy says, we're teaching people that if something offends us, we have to get rid of it. People have different opinions. That's what makes our world an interesting place.
An opinion shouldn't be offensive. If it is, you should be corrected.
Well, there you go.
I'm offended by that. Well, I have a different opinion about you being offended.
That's true. Racism is an opinion.
Argument that
you're offended.
Right, you can't bring up like a second side that's actually just ridiculous and offensive to people. That's not a second side of an argument.
Very fair. And finally, Sue says just they should be parental guidances on those movies, just on those books like they do in movies. Well, goodbye to our coworkers at home today. When the pandemic's over, we'll be back together again in the studio.
Thank you.